Hello there and welcome to Scientific Serenity. Everything you hear here is carefully researched and prepared for you. Now, take a deep breath. Let the darkness become gentle. Before we begin, you may notice your body starting to relax. A gentle yawn may arrive. Your breathing may slow. As this story unfolds, your mind will drift naturally towards sleep. By the middle of this journey, rest will come quietly, and when you wake, you may feel calmer, because tonight, you fell asleep through science and learned something most people never will. If you see me as someone from your own family who researches and prepares this knowledge for you, subscribing, liking, and leaving a comment would truly mean a lot to me. And let the story begin. There is a place in the solar system where the sun forgets how to shine. You have traveled to the edge of everything to reach it, crossing billions of kilometers of empty space, leaving behind the warm inner worlds where sunlight still has meaning. The journey has taken years of silence, of darkness, of the slow passage through the void. You have slept through much of it, your vessel carrying you automatically while your body rested in suspended animation. But now you are awake and the destination is finally in sight. Pluto. It hangs in the blackness ahead of you, a tiny disk of light against the stars. But it is not the light of a world reflecting sunlight the way you are used to. It is something else, a pale, ghostly glow, like a distant ember that has almost burned out. The sun from here is just another star. Brighter than the others, certainly, but still just a point of light in the black sky. It provides no warmth, no comfort, no sense of day. It simply is a distant reminder of the world you left behind. The numbers are almost impossible to comprehend. The distance from the Sun to Pluto averages about 5.9 billion kilometers. Light, traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second, takes about 5.5 hours to cross that distance. When you look at the Sun from Pluto, you are seeing it as it was 5.5 hours ago. If the Sun were to vanish right now, you would not know it for more than 5 hours. You would continue to see it shining, continue to feel its faint light, continue to exist in its glow, long after it had ceased to exist. That is the weight of distance. That is the sound of isolation. That is Pluto. Your vessel enters orbit, swinging around the tiny planet at a distance of just a few hundred kilometers. From here, the view is breathtaking. The sun is a bright star overhead, casting long shadows across the landscape below. The sky is black, absolutely black, unsoftened by any atmosphere to speak of. The stars are everywhere, thousands of them, more than you have ever seen, and they do not twinkle. They burn with a steady, cold light, unchanging and eternal. And below you the surface waits. The descent vehicle detaches from the mothership. You feel a lurch, a moment of weightlessness, and then the gentle tug of Pluto's gravity begins to pull you down. The gravity here is only 6% of Earth's, so weak that you feel almost like you are floating even as you fall. The descent is slow, leisurely, giving you time to study the surface as it approaches. The first thing you notice is the light. It is like nothing you have ever experienced. A perpetual twilight that never brightens, never deepens. At noon on Pluto, the sun provides about as much light as a full moon on Earth. You can see by it, certainly, but everything is muted, softened, drained of color. The bright ice of the plains is a pale gray-white. The dark regions are a deep charcoal. The reddish areas are a muted brown, their color almost lost in the dim illumination. You descend through the thin atmosphere, so thin that it barely deserves the name. It is mostly nitrogen with traces of methane and carbon monoxide, and its pressure at the surface is only about 100,000th of Earth's. It offers no resistance to your descent, no wind to buffet your vessel, no clouds to obscure your view. It is almost as if you are descending through vacuum, through empty space, toward a world that has no sky. The surface rises to meet you. You are coming down near the edge of a vast plain, its surface smooth and featureless compared to the rugged terrain beyond. The plain is made of nitrogen ice, frozen solid at this temperature, harder than rock in its own way, but still recognizably different from the water ice that forms the mountains. Your descent vehicle touches down gently on the surface, its landing pad sinking slightly into the soft nitrogen ice. For a moment, there is silence. The profound, absolute silence of a world with almost no atmosphere to carry sound. Then your systems kick in, and the silence is broken by the hum of machinery, the whisper of circulating air, the small sounds of your own existence. You are on Pluto. You are standing on the surface of a world that no human has ever touched, that no human may ever touch again. And outside, in the dim light, the frozen landscape waits. You prepare for your first excursion. The suit is checked, the systems verified, the air supply confirmed. Then the airlock cycles and you step out onto the surface of Pluto. The first thing that strikes you is the cold. Even through the insulation of your suit, even with the advanced heating systems working at full capacity, you feel it. It seeps through everything, a deep, penetrating cold that seems to reach into your very bones. The temperature here is minus 230 degrees Celsius. Cold enough to freeze nitrogen, cold enough to turn methane into ice, cold enough to make the very air a frozen solid on the ground. But the cold is not what you notice most. What you notice most is the light. It is like standing on Earth under a full moon, but different. The shadows are sharper, more defined, because the light comes from a single point, the sun, rather than being scattered by an atmosphere. You can see clearly, but everything is in shades of gray and black and white. The colors are there, your instruments tell you, but your eyes cannot see them. The dim light has stolen them, washed them out, left only the underlying brightness and darkness. Above you, the sun hangs in the black sky. It is a bright star, the brightest thing in the sky by far, but it is still just a point. You could cover it with your finger held at arm's length. It provides light but no warmth. It is a reminder of home, but a distant one, so distant that it might as well be in another universe. The ground beneath your feet is nitrogen ice, frozen solid at this temperature. It is smooth, almost slippery, like compacted snow. Your boots leave faint impressions as you walk, prints that will remain here for millions of years, because there is no wind to erase them, no rain to wash them away. Your footsteps are permanent on Pluto. You take a few steps away from the lander, testing the feel of the low gravity. Each step carries you farther than you expect, and you have to adjust your stride to compensate. It is like walking on the moon but lighter still, a feeling of almost floating, of being barely connected to the ground. The plain stretches away before you, vast and empty. In the distance you can see the mountains, jagged peaks of water ice rising thousands of meters above the plain. They are dark against the black sky, their faces in shadow, their peaks just catching the faint sunlight. You begin to walk toward them. The journey across the plain is long, but the low gravity makes it effortless. Each step carries you meters across the ice and you cover ground quickly. The only sounds are your breathing, the whisper of your suit systems, and the faint crunch of your boots on the nitrogen ice. As you walk, you study the surface. It is not as featureless as it appeared from above. There are patterns here, faint lines and cracks, subtle variations in texture, places where the ice has sublimated and refrozen. The patterns are like a language, a code written in the ice, telling the story of this world's slow evolution. You stop to examine one of the cracks. It is narrow, only a few centimeters wide, but it extends as far as you can see in both directions. The edges are sharp, as if the ice has split along a fault line. At the bottom you can see darker ice that has risen from below, carrying with it traces of methane and tholins. This is evidence of movement, of change. Even here, at the edge of the solar system, the world is not static. The ice flows slowly over millions of years. The surface cracks and reforms. The landscape evolves. You stand and continue walking. The mountains grow larger as you approach, their details becoming clearer. They are not like the mountains of Earth, rounded by erosion, softened by time. These mountains are sharp, jagged, their peaks rising in clean lines against the black sky. Their faces are steep, their ridges knife-edged, their valleys deep and shadowed. They are made of water ice. At these temperatures, water ice is as hard as granite, as durable as any rock. It forms peaks that would be impossible in Earth's softer ice, cliffs that would challenge the most skilled mountaineers. These mountains have stood here for billions of years, unchanged, unweathered, waiting. You reach the base of the nearest mountain. Its face rises above you, a wall of ice that stretches hundreds of meters into the black sky. The ice is milky, opaque, filled with bubbles and cracks. In the dim light, it appears gray, almost black in the shadows. Only where the sun strikes it directly does it show any brightness at all. You reach out and touch it. Through your glove, you cannot feel its temperature, but you can feel its texture. It is hard, unyielding, nothing like the ice you know. It is rock. Rock made of water. You look up at the peak far above you. You will climb it someday, you know. Not today, there is too much else to explore. But someday, you will stand on that summit and look out across this frozen world, and you will know that you have done something that no one has ever done before. But for now, you are content to stand at its base, to touch its icy face, to feel the faint light of a distant star on your shoulders. For now, you are content to be here on Pluto at the edge of everything. The sun hangs in the sky, a bright star that never moves. The stars are everywhere, their light steady and unchanging. The mountain rises above you, patient and eternal. And you, standing at its base, are part of it all. You step back from the mountain's base and look up at its peak, trying to gauge its height. It rises perhaps 3,000 meters above the plain, less than many mountains on Earth, but here, in this low gravity, it would be a challenging climb. The ice is steep, nearly vertical in places, and covered in a fine dust of frozen methane that provides little traction. But you are not here to climb today. Today you are here to observe, to learn, to absorb. The mountain will wait. It has waited for billions of years already. You turn and walk along the base, following the line where the mountain meets the plain. The ice here is different. Mixed, chaotic, where the nitrogen of the plain meets the water ice of the mountain. There are chunks of water ice embedded in the nitrogen, carried here by some ancient process, and patches of nitrogen ice clinging to the mountain's face. The geology is complex, layered, telling a story that spans eons. You can read some of it: the slow flow of the nitrogen plain, the more recent impacts that have scattered debris across the surface, the sublimation that has carved features into the ice. But much of it remains mysterious, waiting for someone with more time, more tools, more knowledge. You stop at a place where a large boulder of water ice has fallen from the mountain and embedded itself in the plain. It is perhaps 10 meters across, its surface pitted and cracked from eons of exposure. You walk up to it and place your hand on its surface. It is cold, of course, impossibly cold, but through your suit you can feel its texture. Rough, abrasive like sandstone. This boulder has been here for millions of years. It fell from the mountain at some point in the distant past, and it has sat here ever since, slowly being worn down by the faint wind and the occasional impact of micrometeorites. In another million years, it will be gone, eroded to dust, scattered across the plain. But for now, it is here, and you are here, and for a brief moment your existence overlaps with its. You leave the boulder and continue walking. The mountain stretches on, its face changing as you go. In some places, it is sheer cliff, impossible to climb. In others, it is sloped, covered in talus, piles of broken ice that have fallen from above. The talus is dark, almost black, coated in tholins that have drifted down from the sky. You kneel to examine the talus. The pieces are angular, sharp-edged, nothing like the rounded rocks of Earth. They range in size from pebbles to boulders, all jumbled together in chaotic piles. You pick up a small piece no larger than your fist and turn it over in your gloved hand. It is water ice, but it looks nothing like ice. It is opaque, milky, with a faint grayish tint. It feels like rock, weighs like rock, behaves like rock. Only your instruments tell you that it is frozen water, the same substance that falls as snow on Earth, that floats in your drinks, that makes up most of your body. You put the piece back where you found it, carefully, as if you were returning something borrowed. It has been here for millions of years, and it will be here for millions more. Your touch is nothing to it. You stand and look out across the plain. The lander is a tiny speck in the distance, barely visible against the ice. Beyond it, the plain stretches to the horizon, its surface marked by those faint patterns you noticed earlier. And beyond that, the mountains rise, peak after peak, each one a monument to the cold. The sun hangs in the sky, a bright star that never moves. It has been in the same position since you arrived, and it will remain there for days, weeks, months. A day on Pluto lasts more than 6 Earth days, and the sun's movement across the sky is so slow as to be almost imperceptible. You could watch for hours and see no change. This is another aspect of the distance, the slowing of time, the stretching of days. On Earth, the sun moves visibly across the sky, marking the hours, dividing the day into morning and afternoon and evening. Here there is no such division. There is only the faint light, unchanging, eternal. You begin to walk back toward the lander. The journey will take hours, but you are in no hurry. There is nowhere to go, nothing to do but observe, learn, absorb. The slow pace of this world has infected you, slowed your own sense of time. As you walk, you think about the light. 5.5 hours to reach you from the sun. 5.5 hours of travel at the speed of light, the fastest thing in the universe. That distance is so great that it has meaning, weight, significance. It is not just a number. It is a measure of isolation. On Earth, sunlight takes 8 minutes to arrive. You feel connected to the sun, warmed by it, dependent on it. The 8-minute delay is nothing. A blink, a moment, barely noticeable. But 5.5 hours is different. It is the length of a work shift, a flight across an ocean, a significant portion of a waking day. It is enough time to forget what you were waiting for. You look up at the sun, that bright star, and you think about what it represents. It is the same sun that warms Earth, that drives our weather, that makes life possible. But here it is just a light. It provides no warmth, no comfort, no sense of connection. It is a reminder of home, but a distant one, so distant that home might as well be on another star. The lander grows larger as you approach. Soon you are back at its side, standing on the nitrogen ice, looking out at the frozen landscape. The mountain is still there, dark against the sky. The plain is still there, patterned and vast. The sun is still there, fixed and unchanging. You are tired. Not physically. The low gravity makes physical exertion almost effortless. But mentally, emotionally, you are tired. The weight of this place, the isolation, the distance, it all presses on you, not heavily but persistently, like a constant low hum in the background of your awareness. You enter the lander, cycle through the airlock, and remove your helmet. For the first time in hours, you breathe air that hasn't been recycled through your suit. It smells of machinery, of recycled chemicals, of the inside of a spacecraft. But it is air, and it is warm, and it is familiar. You sit down and look at the view screen, which shows a live feed from the external cameras. The mountain is there, the plain is there, the stars are there. And the sun, a bright point among them, is there. You will go out again, you know. You will explore more, climb higher, see more of this frozen world. But for now you need to rest. You need to process what you have seen, to let it sink in, to make it part of you. You close your eyes. Behind your eyelids, the afterimage of the landscape lingers, the mountain, the plain, the stars. You see them even in darkness, even with your eyes closed. They are part of you now. The sun continues to shine, 5.5 hours away. The mountain continues to stand, patient and eternal. The plain continues to stretch, vast and empty. And you in your tiny lander continue to rest. This is Pluto. This is the edge. This is where the sun becomes just another star. You rest for a while in the lander, letting your mind settle, letting the experiences of the day integrate into your memory. The view screen shows the same scene: mountain, plain, stars, unchanging, eternal. It is hypnotic, calming, a window into a world that has no concept of time. After what feels like hours, you stand and prepare to go out again. There is more to see, more to learn. The mountain called to you earlier, and you feel its pull still, a silent invitation to come closer, to touch its face again, to begin the process of understanding. The suit goes on easily now, the motions familiar. Helmet, gloves, boots, each piece clicks into place with practiced efficiency. You cycle through the airlock and step out onto the surface once more. The cold hits you again, as it always does. Even through the insulation, even with the heaters working at full capacity, you feel it. It is not a sharp cold, not the biting cold of a winter wind on Earth. It is a deep cold, a patient cold, a cold that seems to seep into your very soul. It is the cold of space, of the void between stars, of a world that has been frozen for billions of years. You turn toward the mountain and begin walking. The plain stretches before you, vast and empty. In the low gravity, each step carries you meters across the ice, and you cover ground quickly. The lander recedes behind you, becoming a tiny speck against the endless white. Ahead, the mountain grows larger, its details becoming clearer with each step. As you walk, you notice something you missed before. There are tracks in the ice, not your own but others. They are faint, barely visible, but they are there. Long, straight lines that stretch across the plain, intersecting and diverging in complex patterns. They are not the tracks of any creature, of course. Nothing lives here. They are the tracks of rocks. On Earth, rocks can move across desert floors, pushed by wind and ice, leaving trails behind them. The same thing happens here, but slower, much slower. The rocks, chunks of water ice that have fallen from the mountains, are slowly creeping across the nitrogen plain, pushed by the faint wind and the slow sublimation of the ice beneath them. Their tracks are records of movement, of change, of a world that is not as static as it seems. You follow one of the tracks, tracing it back to its source, a boulder of water ice, perhaps 2 meters across, sitting at the end of a long straight line. The boulder has moved perhaps 100 meters from where it started, a journey that must have taken millions of years. You walk up to it and place your hand on its surface. It is cold, of course, but it is also smooth, polished by its slow movement across the ice. The bottom of the boulder, the part that has been in contact with the plain, is worn flat, ground down by eons of friction. The top is rough, pitted, covered in the same Tholin dust that coats everything. You wonder where it is going. The track continues beyond the boulder, heading toward the distant mountains. In another million years, perhaps, it will reach them, will come to rest at their base, will become part of the talus that piles up there. Or perhaps it will continue past them, across the plain, forever moving, never stopping. You leave the boulder and continue walking. The mountain is close now, its face filling your field of vision. You can see details you missed before, ledges and cracks, overhangs and chimneys, all the features that make a mountain climbable or not. You study them carefully, filing them away in your memory, planning a route for a future climb. But not today. Today you are still learning, still observing, still absorbing. You reach the base of the mountain and stop. The ice here is different. Older, more compressed, harder than the ice of the plain. It has a bluish tint in the dim light, a hint of the structure within. You touch it and it rings slightly, a faint vibration that travels up through your glove. This ice has been here for billions of years. It was here before life arose on Earth, before the dinosaurs, before anything. It has seen the solar system form and evolve, has witnessed the birth and death of countless stars in the galaxy beyond. And it will be here long after humans are gone, long after Earth is consumed by the expanding sun, long after the universe has grown cold and dark. You are nothing to this ice. A brief flicker, a moment of warmth, a passing touch. But in that moment you are connected to it. You are part of its story as it is part of yours. You step back and look up at the peak far above. The sun is there, a bright star hanging just above the mountain's summit. It illuminates the ice, casting long shadows across the face. In the dim light, the mountain seems almost alive, a sleeping giant waiting to wake. You begin to walk along the base again, exploring, learning. You find a place where a crack in the ice opens into a small cave, a hollow space carved by eons of sublimation. You duck inside, your helmet light illuminating the interior. The cave is small, perhaps 5 meters deep and 2 meters high. The walls are smooth, polished by the slow movement of air over millennia. The ceiling is covered in icicles, not of water but of methane, frozen into long, delicate spikes that hang down like chandeliers. They glitter in your helmet light, catching the beam and reflecting it in 1,000 directions. You stand in the cave, surrounded by this frozen beauty, and you feel a sense of wonder that you have rarely felt before. This place has existed for millions of years, hidden from view, waiting for someone to discover it. And now you are here, the first living thing ever to see it. You reach up and touch one of the methane icicles. It is cold, impossibly cold and fragile. It snaps off at your touch, falling to the cave floor and shattering into 1,000 tiny pieces. They glitter there, reflecting your helmet light, a small sacrifice to your presence. You feel a moment of regret. That icicle took millennia to form, and you destroyed it in an instant. But regret passes, replaced by acceptance. Nothing lasts forever. Not icicles, not mountains, not worlds. Change is the only constant. You leave the cave and continue along the base. The mountain stretches on, its face changing as you go. In some places, it is sheer cliff, impossible to climb. In others, it is sloped, covered in the same talus you saw before. You pick your way through the talus, climbing over boulders, stepping carefully on the unstable ice. At one point, you find a place where a large section of the mountain has collapsed, creating a ramp of debris that leads upward. You stop and study it. The ramp looks climbable, at least for a ways. It might lead to a ledge, a place where you could get a better view of the surrounding terrain. You decide to climb it. The low gravity makes the ascent easy. Each step carries you meters upward, and you move quickly, almost floating, up the ramp of broken ice. The debris shifts under your feet, but you adjust, finding solid footing among the jumble. After a few minutes, you reach the top of the ramp. It ends at a narrow ledge, perhaps 2 meters wide, that runs along the mountain's face. You step onto it and look out. The view is spectacular. Below you, the plain stretches away, vast and empty, its patterned surface clearly visible from this height. The lander is a tiny speck in the distance, barely visible against the ice. Beyond the plain, more mountains rise, peak after peak, their summits catching the faint sunlight. Above you, the peak of this mountain rises still higher, its face steep and challenging. But you are not going higher today. This ledge is far enough. You sit down on the ledge, letting your legs dangle over the edge. The ice is cold beneath you, but you don't notice. You are focused on the view, on the vastness of this frozen world, on the stars that fill the sky. The sun is there, a bright star among many. It provides light but no warmth. It is a reminder of home, but a distant one. You could almost forget that it is the same sun that warms Earth, that makes life possible, that gave birth to everything you have ever known. You sit on the ledge for a long time just watching. The stars don't move. The sun doesn't move. The landscape doesn't change. Time seems to have stopped, frozen along with everything else. But you know it hasn't. Beneath you, the ice is flowing, slowly, imperceptibly. The boulders are moving, creeping across the plain. The mountain is eroding, grain by grain. Change is happening, always happening, even if you cannot see it. You are part of that change now. Your presence here, your touch, your breath, all of it will leave traces, will alter this world in small ways. The icicle you broke will not form again in the same way. The dust you disturbed will settle differently. The prints you left will remain for millions of years. You have become part of Pluto's story. After a long time, you stand and begin the descent. The ramp is easier going down and you make good time. Soon you are back at the base of the mountain, standing on the plain once more. You turn and look up at the ledge where you sat. It is barely visible from here, a thin line on the mountain's face. But you know it is there. You have been there. And nothing can change that. You begin the long walk back to the lander. The mountain recedes behind you, slowly shrinking against the starry sky. The plain stretches ahead, vast and empty. The sun hangs in the sky, fixed and unchanging. You walk for hours, your thoughts drifting. You think about the distance, the light, the cold. You think about the mountain, the cave, the boulders. You think about the millions of years that have passed, the millions more to come. And you think about yourself, a tiny speck of life in this frozen world, a brief flicker of consciousness in the vast darkness. It is humbling and terrifying and beautiful all at once. The lander grows larger as you approach. Soon you are at its side, standing on the nitrogen ice, looking out one last time at the frozen landscape. The mountain is there, dark against the sky. The plain is there, patterned and vast. The stars are there, eternal and unchanging. You enter the lander, cycle through the airlock, and remove your helmet. The familiar smell of recycled air fills your lungs. The warmth of the interior seeps into your bones. You sit down and look at the view screen. The mountain is there, the plain is there, the stars are there. The same scene, unchanging, eternal. You close your eyes. Behind your eyelids, the afterimage of the landscape lingers. The mountain, the plain, the stars. They are part of you now, and you are part of them. You sleep for a while, curled in the lander's small cabin, the view screen showing the same unchanging scene. When you wake, hours have passed, or perhaps only minutes. Time is difficult to measure here, where the sun never moves and the stars never shift. You eat a meal, check your systems, prepare for another excursion. There is still so much to see, so much to learn. The mountain called to you before and you answered. Now the plain calls, vast and empty with its patterns and mysteries. You suit up and step outside. The cold greets you again, an old friend now, familiar and expected. You turn away from the mountain and walk out onto the plain, heading toward the center of one of the giant polygons you noticed from above. The ice is smooth here, almost glassy. Your boots leave faint prints, but they are shallow, barely disturbing the surface. You walk for what feels like hours, covering kilometer after kilometer, the mountain shrinking behind you, the horizon ahead unchanging. The polygon you are heading toward is enormous, tens of kilometers across, its boundaries marked by shallow troughs where the ice has cracked and separated. As you approach the center, you notice that the ice changes. It becomes rougher, more textured, covered in small bumps and ridges that catch the faint sunlight. These are the signatures of convection, of ice rising from below. At the center of each polygon, warmer ice wells up from the depths, carrying with it gases and impurities that were trapped under pressure. As it reaches the surface, it spreads outward, creating the raised dome that characterizes the polygon's center. You stop at the center and kneel to examine the ice. It is different here, softer, more crumbly, filled with tiny bubbles that sparkle in your helmet light. You chip off a small piece and hold it up to the light. It is beautiful. The bubbles catch the light, refracting it into tiny rainbows that dance across the ice. The ice itself is almost clear, purer than the ice at the edges, where tholins and other impurities have accumulated. You put the piece back carefully, returning it to the surface where it came from. It will be here for millions of years, slowly moving outward as the convection continues. In a few million years, it will reach the edge of the polygon, sink back into the depths, and begin the cycle again. You stand and look out across the plain. The polygons stretch away in every direction, each one a giant cell in the slow convection that drives this frozen sea. They are beautiful in their regularity, their patterns, their endless repetition. You begin to walk again, heading toward the edge of the polygon. The ice slopes gently downward as you approach the trough, the surface tilting almost imperceptibly toward the sinking zone. The trough itself is a shallow depression, perhaps 10 meters wide, running in a straight line across the plain as far as you can see. You step down into it. The ice here is different, darker, filled with impurities that have accumulated at the boundaries between cells. You can see layers in the ice, bands of light and dark that record the history of this place. Each layer is a year, a century, a million years, a page in the long story of Pluto. You kneel and touch one of the dark layers. It is soft, crumbly, rich in tholins, the complex organic compounds that form when methane is irradiated by cosmic rays. You bring a sample to your helmet, examining it through the visor. It is black like soot, but with a reddish tint in certain lights. It is organic in the sense that it contains carbon, but it has never been alive. It is simply the product of chemistry, of radiation, of the slow work of time. And yet it contains the building blocks of life. Amino acids, the precursors of proteins. Nucleobases, the components of DNA. Under the right conditions, with the right energy, these compounds could assemble into something more. They could become biology. They could become life. But not here. Not on Pluto. The conditions are too cold, too dark, too stable. The energy that created the tholins, cosmic rays and ultraviolet light, is the same energy that would destroy any complex biology. The molecules that drift down from the sky are the end point of chemistry on this world, not the beginning. You stand and continue along the trough. It leads you to the next polygon and the next and the next. You walk for hours, crossing cell after cell, each one the same, each one slightly different. The pattern repeats endlessly, the gentle rise to the center, the slow fall to the edge, the dark line of the trough. At last you stop. You have walked far enough. Ahead of you the plain continues, endless and vast. Behind you the same. You are in the middle of nowhere, in the center of a polygon, surrounded by ice that is slowly rising from the depths. You sit down on the ice. It is cold, of course, but you no longer notice. You are focused on the feeling of movement, the sense that beneath you things are happening. The ice is rising, spreading, flowing. It is carrying you slowly, imperceptibly toward the edge of the cell. In a few million years you will reach the trough, sink into the depths and disappear. But that is for the future. For now you are here on the surface watching the stars. The sky is black, absolute, filled with stars. The Milky Way is a river of light, stretching from horizon to horizon. You can see individual stars in the galactic core, millions of them packed so tightly that they seem to merge into a continuous glow. You can see the dark lanes where dust obscures the stars beyond, great rifts in the river of light. And there, among them, is the sun. A bright star, the brightest in the sky, but still just a point. It provides light, but no warmth. It is a reminder of home, but a distant one, so distant that it might as well be in another galaxy. You lie back on the ice, letting it support you. The cold seeps through your suit, but you ignore it. You are here now on the frozen plain of Pluto, and nothing else matters. The ice creaks beneath you, a low groaning sound that travels through the ice and up through your suit. It is the sound of motion, of flow, of the slow churn of a world. It is the sound of Pluto speaking in a language too slow for humans to understand. You close your eyes. Behind your eyelids, the afterimage of the stars lingers, thousands of points of light imprinted on your vision. You see them even in darkness, even with your eyes closed. They are part of you now. The ice continues its slow motion beneath you. The stars continue their slow wheel above you. And you, lying on the frozen plain, are part of it all. After a long time, you open your eyes and sit up. The lander is somewhere behind you, a tiny speck in the vastness. You need to return, to rest, to prepare for the next day's exploration. You stand and begin the long walk back. The journey takes hours, but the low gravity makes it effortless. You cover kilometer after kilometer, the lander growing slowly larger on the horizon. As you walk, you think about what you have seen. The mountain, the cave, the boulders. The plain, the polygons, the troughs. The stars, the sun, the endless darkness. It is more than you could have imagined, more than you could have hoped for. And yet there is more. So much more. The mountains beyond the ones you have seen. The dark regions covered in tholins. The heart-shaped plain of Sputnik Planitia, with its convection cells and flowing ice. The moons, Charon, Styx, Nix, Kerberos, Hydra, each one a world in its own right. You will see them in time. But for now you are content with what you have seen. For now you are content to rest. The lander welcomes you back, its airlock cycling you through into the warm interior. You remove your helmet, your gloves, your boots. You sit down and look at the view screen one last time before sleep. The mountain is there, dark against the sky. The plain is there, patterned and vast. The stars are there, eternal and unchanging. The sun is there, a bright star among them. You close your eyes, and you sleep. You dream of light. Not the harsh, brilliant light of Earth's noon, but something softer. The light of 1,000 moons, the light of distant stars, the light that falls on Pluto's frozen plains. In your dream you are walking across the nitrogen ice, but the ice is clear, transparent, and beneath it you can see the depths, layers and layers of frozen time stretching down into darkness. You walk for what feels like years, decades, centuries. The ice beneath you is moving, carrying you along, and you let it. You have no destination, no purpose, no need to arrive anywhere. You simply are moving across the face of a frozen world, under a sky full of stars. And then you wake. The lander's cabin is dim, lit only by the soft glow of instruments. The view screen shows the same scene, mountain, plain, stars, unchanged since you closed your eyes. How long have you slept? Hours? Days? There is no way to know. You sit up, stretch, check your systems. Everything is functioning normally. The air is good, the power is sufficient, The lander is secure on its landing pads. You have time, days, weeks, months, to explore this world. But first, you need to see it one more time. You suit up and step outside. The cold greets you as always, but it is familiar now, almost comforting. You walk a short distance from the lander and stop, turning slowly to take in the view. The mountain is there, dark against the sky. You have climbed part of it, touched its face, sat on its ledges. It is no longer just a mountain. It is a place you have been, a part of your story. The plain is there, patterned and vast. You have walked across it, sat at its center, listened to its slow creaking. It is no longer just a plain. It is a place you know, a landscape you have experienced. The stars are there, eternal and unchanging. You have watched them for hours, learned their patterns, picked out the faint point that is the sun. They are no longer just stars. They are your companions, your witnesses, your connection to the universe beyond. And you are here, standing on the surface of Pluto at the edge of the solar system, 5.5 hours from the sun. You are the first human to see this, the first to touch it, the first to be touched by it. You are alone in a way that no human has ever been alone before. But you are not lonely. There is a difference. Loneliness is the absence of connection, the longing for others. But here you are connected to everything, to the ice beneath your feet, to the mountain before you, to the stars above you. You are part of this world now as much as any atom of nitrogen, any crystal of water ice, any particle of Tholin dust. You look up at the sun, that bright star, and you feel its light on your face. It took 5.5 hours to reach you, traveling at the speed of light across billions of kilometers of empty space. That light left the sun when you were still asleep, still resting in your lander. It has traveled across the solar system to reach you, to touch you, to remind you that you are not alone. You are connected. To the sun, to Earth, to everyone and everything you left behind. The distance is vast, but it is not empty. It is filled with light, with gravity, with the invisible threads that bind the solar system together. You stand there for a long time just feeling. The cold, the light, the silence. The presence of this place, the weight of its age, the patience of its waiting. Then you turn and walk back to the lander. There is more to explore, more to see. The mountain waits, the plain waits, the stars wait. But for now you have done enough. For now you have seen enough. You cycle through the airlock and remove your helmet. The familiar smell of recycled air fills your lungs. The warmth of the interior seeps into your bones. You sit down and look at the view screen one last time before sleep. The mountain is there. The plain is there. The stars are there. The sun is there. And you are here. You close your eyes. And you sleep. You wake to the same view you fell asleep to, the mountain, the plain, the stars. Time has passed, but nothing has changed. The sun still hangs in the same place, a bright star above the peaks. The shadows are the same length, cast in the same directions. On Pluto, nothing marks the passage of time except the slow rotation of the planet, too slow to see with the naked eye. You check your instruments. You have slept for nearly 12 Earth hours. In that time, Pluto has rotated perhaps 2 degrees, an imperceptible shift. The sun has moved slightly, but you would need precise measurements to detect it. To your eyes, everything is as it was. You eat, check your systems, prepare for the day's excursion. Today you will climb the mountain. The suit goes on with practiced ease. Helmet, gloves, boots, each piece clicks into place. You cycle through the airlock and step out onto the surface. The cold greets you as always. It is minus 230 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze nitrogen, cold enough to turn methane into ice, cold enough to make water ice harder than granite. You have grown accustomed to it, but you never forget it. It is always there, a presence, a weight, a reminder of where you are. You turn toward the mountain and begin walking. The plain stretches before you, vast and empty. In the low gravity, each step carries you meters across the ice and you cover ground quickly. The lander recedes behind you, becoming a tiny speck against the endless white. Ahead, the mountain grows larger, its details becoming clearer with each step. As you walk, you think about the ice beneath your feet. Nitrogen ice, frozen at this temperature, harder than rock in its own way, but still different from the water ice of the mountains. It is softer, more yielding, more likely to flow under pressure. It is the stuff of the plain, the material that covers most of this hemisphere. But the mountain is different. The mountain is water. Water ice is common in the solar system. It forms the rings of Saturn, the surfaces of Jupiter's moons, the comets that streak through the inner system. But on Earth, ice is familiar, almost mundane. It floats and drinks, falls as snow, forms on puddles in winter. It is soft, meltable, temporary. It is not something you would build a mountain out of. On Pluto, everything is different. At minus 230 degrees Celsius, water ice undergoes a transformation. Its crystal structure changes, becoming denser, harder, more stable. The hydrogen bonds that hold water molecules together become rigid and unyielding. The ice that forms under these conditions has a different character than the ice you know. Stronger, more durable, more like rock. At these temperatures, water ice behaves like granite. It fractures like granite, erodes like granite, supports massive structures like granite. A mountain of water ice on Pluto is as stable and permanent as a mountain of rock on Earth. It will not flow, will not creep, will not melt. It will simply stand there for billions of years, catching the faint light of a distant sun. You reach the base of the mountain and stop. Its face rises above you, a wall of ice that stretches hundreds of meters into the black sky. The ice is milky, opaque, filled with bubbles and cracks. In the dim light, it appears gray, almost black in the shadows. Only where the sun strikes it directly does it show any brightness at all. You reach out and touch it. Through your glove, you cannot feel its temperature, but you can feel its texture. It is hard, unyielding, as solid as any rock you have ever touched. There is no give to it, no softness, nothing that would remind you of the ice you know. It is rock, pure and simple. Rock made of water. You step back and study the face, looking for a route up. The mountain is steep but not vertical. There are ledges and cracks, ramps and chimneys, all the features that make a mountain climbable. You pick a line that looks feasible and begin to climb. The low gravity makes the ascent easy. Each pull carries you meters upward, and you move quickly, almost floating, up the face of the ice. The holds are solid. The ice is hard, unyielding, and your gloved hands grip it easily. You climb steadily, rising above the plane, the lander shrinking below you. As you climb, you study the ice around you. It is not uniform. Some layers are clearer, purer, with fewer inclusions. Others are dark, almost black, loaded with tholins, the complex organic compounds that form when methane is irradiated by cosmic rays. These dark layers are weaker, more friable, prone to crumbling under pressure. You avoid them when you can, seeking the purer ice that will hold your weight. At 500 meters, you reach a ledge wide enough to stand on. You step onto it and look out. The view is breathtaking. Below you, the plain stretches away, its polygonal patterns clearly visible from this height. The lander is a tiny speck, barely visible against the ice. Beyond the plain, more mountains rise, peak after peak, their summits catching the faint sunlight. Above you, the peak is still far away. You have climbed only a fraction of the mountain's height, but you are not in a hurry. You have time. You continue climbing. The route becomes steeper, more challenging. The holds are smaller, the ledges narrower. But the low gravity makes it possible, and you move steadily upward, gaining height with each move. At 1,000 meters, you reach another ledge. This one is larger, perhaps 5 meters wide, stretching along the mountain's face for a considerable distance. You step onto it and rest, looking out at the view. The plain is even more distant now, its features softened by height. The lander is invisible, lost in the vastness. The mountains beyond are clearer, their details more distinct. You can see individual peaks, ridges, valleys, a whole range of water ice stretching to the horizon. You look up. The peak is still far above, but closer now. You can see the route ahead, a series of ledges and ramps that will take you higher. It looks climbable. You decide to continue. The next section is the steepest yet. The ice is nearly vertical here, and the holds are small, tiny cracks and bumps that barely support your weight. But the low gravity makes it possible, and you climb carefully, methodically, placing each hand and foot with precision. At 1,500 meters, you reach a narrow ledge and stop to catch your breath. The air is thin here, thinner than at the surface, though that hardly seems possible. Your suit systems work harder to maintain pressure, to keep you alive in this hostile environment. You look out. The view is staggering. The plain is a distant memory, a patch of white far below. The mountains beyond are spread out like a map, their peaks and ridges clearly visible. You can see the entire range stretching for hundreds of kilometers across the frozen landscape. And above you, the peak is finally close. Perhaps another 500 meters. You can make it. You climb on. The ice here is different. Older, more compressed, harder than anything below. It has a bluish tint in the dim light, a hint of the structure within. It rings when you tap it, a clear bell-like tone that carries through the thin air. The mountain is singing to you in its way. At 1,800 meters, you reach a place where the route seems to end. A sheer wall of ice rises before you, smooth and unclimbable. You search for a way around, but there is none. To the left, the wall continues. To the right, it drops away into a bottomless chasm. You are stuck. You sit on a small ledge, considering your options. You could go back down, try a different route. But that would take hours, and you are not sure there is another way. You could wait, hope that something changes. But nothing changes on Pluto. Then you see it. A crack in the ice, barely visible, running diagonally across the wall. It is narrow, too narrow for your body, but if you can get a handhold, a foothold, you might be able to traverse across it. You stand and approach the crack. It is about the width of your hand, angling upward across the face. You reach into it, finding solid ice within. It will hold. You begin to traverse. The move is delicate, requiring all your concentration. Your left hand grips the crack, your left foot finds a tiny ledge, your right hand searches for another hold. You move slowly, carefully, inches at a time. Below you, the chasm drops away into darkness. One mistake and you will fall. But you do not fall. You move steadily across the face, following the crack. After what feels like hours, you reach the other side. A wider ledge, a place to stand, a route that continues upward. You rest for a moment, catching your breath, calming your nerves. Then you continue. The final section is easier. The ice is rough here, providing good holds. You climb quickly, eager to reach the top. The peak is just above you now, close enough to touch. And then, suddenly, you are there. You pull yourself over the edge and stand on the summit of the mountain. Below you, the world falls away. The plain is a distant memory. The mountains beyond are spread out like a map. The stars fill the sky above. You have done it. You have climbed a mountain of water ice on Pluto. The summit is small, perhaps 10 meters across, covered in a thin layer of Tholen dust. In the center, a small cairn of rocks, of ice, marks the highest point. You walk to it and place your hand on its surface. It is cold, of course, but it is also solid, real here. You are here. You have climbed this mountain, stood on this summit, touched this place. You look out at the view. The mountains stretch away in every direction, peak after peak of water ice, each one a monument to the cold that rules this world. The plain is a distant patch of white, its patterns barely visible from this height. The stars fill the sky, thousands of them, millions of them, their light steady and unchanging. And there, among them, is the sun. A bright star, the brightest in the sky, but still just a point. It provides light, but no warmth. It is a reminder of home, but a distant one. You stand on the summit for a long time just looking. The cold seeps through your suit, but you ignore it. You are here now, on top of a mountain of water ice on Pluto. Nothing else matters. After a long time, you begin the descent. It is harder than the climb, more dangerous, more demanding of concentration. But you pick your way down carefully, retracing your route, using the same holds and ledges that brought you up. Hours later, you reach the base. You stand on the nitrogen plain, looking up at the mountain you have just climbed. It seems impossibly high from here, impossibly steep, but you have been to its summit. You have stood at its highest point, and nothing can change that. You turn and begin the long walk back to the lander. The mountain recedes behind you, slowly shrinking against the starry sky. The plain stretches ahead, vast and empty. The sun hangs in the sky, fixed and unchanging. You walk for hours, your thoughts drifting. You think about the climb, the ice, the view from the summit. You think about the mountains beyond, waiting to be climbed. You think about the cold, the distance, the light. And you think about yourself, standing on top of the world, looking out at the universe. The lander grows larger as you approach. Soon you are at its side, standing on the nitrogen ice, looking out one last time at the mountain. It is there, dark against the sky, a monument to your achievement. You enter the lander, cycle through the airlock, and remove your helmet. The familiar smell of recycled air fills your lungs. The warmth of the interior seeps into your bones. You sit down and look at the view screen. The mountain is there, the plane is there, the stars are there. The same scene, unchanging, eternal. But you have changed. You have climbed that mountain. You have stood on that summit. And nothing can take that away. You close your eyes. And you sleep. You sleep deeply, dreamlessly, exhausted by the climb. When you wake, hours have passed, or perhaps only minutes. Time is difficult to measure here, where the sun never moves and the stars never shift. You eat, check your systems, prepare for another excursion. Today you will explore a different mountain. One of the peaks you saw from the summit, a massive structure that rises even higher than the one you climbed. It is farther away across the plain, but the low gravity makes distance meaningless. You can cover in hours what would take days on Earth. You suit up and step outside. The cold greets you as always. You turn away from the mountain you climbed and walk toward the new one, heading across the plain in a direction you have not yet explored. The ice here is different. It is rougher, more broken, covered in cracks and fissures that speak of violent forces beneath the surface. You pick your way carefully, avoiding the larger cracks, testing the ice before committing your weight. As you walk, you notice something strange. The ice is changing color. Where it was pure white near the lander, here it is streaked with gray, with black, with hints of red. The tholins are thicker here, accumulated in layers that stain the ice like spilled ink. You kneel to examine one of the dark streaks. It is soft, crumbly, rich in organic compounds. You scoop up a sample, watching as it flows through your gloved fingers like black sand. This is the stuff of life, or at least the stuff that could become life given the right conditions. On Pluto it is just dust, but it is beautiful dust, complex dust, dust that tells the story of this world's chemical evolution. You stand and continue walking. The mountain grows larger as you approach, its details becoming clearer. It is massive, perhaps 5,000 meters high, twice the height of the one you climbed. Its face is steep, almost vertical in places, and covered in the same dark streaks that stain the plain. As you draw closer, you notice something else. There are shapes at the base of the mountain, large, angular shapes that stand out against the ice. They are boulders fallen from above, but these are different from the ones you saw before. They are enormous, some as large as houses, and they are arranged in patterns that seem almost deliberate. You approach the nearest boulder. It is perhaps 20 meters across, a chunk of water ice that has broken from the mountain and fallen to the plain. Its surface is rough, pitted, covered in cracks and fissures. But as you circle it, you notice something strange. There are markings on its surface. Lines, grooves, patterns that look almost like writing. They are not natural, or if they are natural, they are unlike anything you have ever seen. They run in straight lines parallel to each other, crossing at right angles in places. They look almost like something carved, something made. You reach out and touch them. The grooves are shallow, perhaps a centimeter deep, and smooth, too smooth to be natural. You run your gloved finger along one, feeling its evenness, its regularity. What made these? Not wind, there is almost no wind here. Not water, there is no liquid water on Pluto. Not ice movement, the boulder has been sitting here for millions of years, unmoving. You have no answer. You file the observation away, adding it to the growing list of mysteries on this world. You leave the boulder and continue toward the mountain. The base is close now, and you can see the talus, the pile of broken ice that has fallen from above. It is vast, stretching for kilometers along the mountain's foot, a chaotic jumble of blocks and fragments. You begin to pick your way through the talus, climbing over boulders, stepping carefully on the unstable ice. The blocks range in size from pebbles to houses, all jumbled together in random piles. It is like walking through a city of ice, a frozen metropolis of fallen fragments. In the distance you see something that stops you cold. A shape, a regular shape too regular to be natural. It is a block like the others, but it is different. It is square, perfectly square. You approach it slowly, almost afraid of what you might find. The block is about 3 meters on each side, a perfect cube of water ice. Its surfaces are smooth, flat, meeting at right angles. It looks like something cut, something shaped, something made. You walk around it, examining it from all sides. There are no marks on it, no grooves, no patterns, just the perfect geometry of a cube. It sits among the jumbled talus like a visitor from another world, a piece of order in a landscape of chaos. How did it get here? How did a perfect cube of ice form naturally? The questions pile up unanswered. You leave the cube and continue through the talus. The mountain rises above you, its face steep and forbidding. You are looking for a route up, a way to climb this massive peak. But the face is nearly vertical here, unclimbable. You will need to find another way. You walk along the base, searching. The talus gives way to bare ice, then to a steep slope that angles upward. It is not a route to the summit, too steep, too exposed, but it might lead to a ledge, a place where you can get a better view. You begin to climb. The ice here is different, older, harder, more polished than the ice on the other mountain. It is almost slippery, and you have to move carefully, testing each hold before committing your weight. The low gravity helps, but the ice is treacherous. At 200 meters, you reach a ledge. It is narrow, barely wide enough to stand on, but it offers a view of the surrounding terrain. You step onto it and look out. The talus field stretches below you, a chaos of blocks and fragments. Beyond it, the plain extends to the horizon, its surface marked by the same polygonal patterns you saw before. The mountains beyond are visible, peak after peak, their summits catching the faint sunlight. And above you, the mountain rises still higher. You can see now that there is a route, a series of ledges and ramps that lead upward toward a ridge that might lead to the summit. It is climbable. It will be hard, but it is climbable. You continue upward. The climbing is difficult, demanding. The ice is steep, the holds are small, and the exposure is terrifying. Below you, the talus field drops away, a jumble of blocks that would not be kind to a fall. But you focus, concentrate, move carefully. At 500 meters, you reach a wider ledge. It is perhaps 5 meters across, running along the mountain's face for a considerable distance. You step onto it and rest, catching your breath. The view is stunning. The talus field is far below, its blocks reduced to specks. The plain stretches away, vast and empty, its patterns clearly visible. The mountains beyond are spread out like a map, their peaks and ridges clearly defined. And above you, the summit is still far away. But you are making progress. You continue climbing. The route follows the ledge for a while, then turns upward along a steep ramp. The ramp is covered in loose ice, unstable, and you have to move carefully to avoid dislodging anything. Each step sends small fragments skittering down the slope, bouncing into the void. At 800 meters, the ramp ends at a sheer wall. You search for a route, but there is none. The wall is smooth, unclimbable. You are stuck. You sit on a small ledge, considering your options. You could go back down, try a different route. But that would take hours, and you are not sure there is another way. You could wait, hope that something changes. But nothing changes on Pluto. Then you see it. A crack in the ice, barely visible, running vertically up the wall. It is narrow, too narrow for your body, but if you can chimney up it using your back and feet for leverage, you might be able to climb it. You stand and approach the crack. It is about 1 meter wide, running straight up the wall for as far as you can see. You step into it, pressing your back against one side and your feet against the other. Then you begin to chimney up. The technique is slow, exhausting. You move inches at a time, pressing with your back, pushing with your feet, inching upward. The ice is cold, even through your suit, and you can feel it through the insulation. But you keep moving, keep climbing, keep going. After what feels like hours, you reach the top of the crack. You pull yourself out onto another ledge, gasping with effort. You have climbed perhaps 200 meters in that crack. You are now at 1,000 meters. The ledge is wide, perhaps 10 meters across, and it runs along the mountain's face for a considerable distance. You walk along it looking for a way up. Ahead, you see another ramp, similar to the one you climbed earlier. It leads upward toward a ridge that might lead to the summit. You continue. The climbing is easier now. The ice is rougher, providing better holds, and the angle is less steep. You move quickly, gaining height with each step. The summit is closer now, much closer. You can see it above you, a sharp peak against the starry sky. At 1,500 meters you reach the ridge. It is narrow, barely wide enough to walk along, but it leads directly to the summit. You step onto it and begin the final approach. The ridge is exposed, with drops on both sides into bottomless chasms. But the ice is solid, and you move carefully, placing each foot with precision. The summit grows closer with each step, and then suddenly you are there. You step onto the summit and stand looking out at the view. It is even more breathtaking than the last summit. The mountains stretch away in every direction, peak after peak of water ice, their summits catching the faint sunlight. The plain is a distant patch of white, its patterns barely visible from this height. The stars fill the sky, thousands of them, millions of them, their light steady and unchanging. And there, among them, is the sun. A bright star, the brightest in the sky, but still just a point. It provides light, but no warmth. It is a reminder of home, but a distant one. You stand on the summit for a long time just looking. The cold seeps through your suit, but you ignore it. You are here now, on top of a mountain of water ice on Pluto. Nothing else matters. You stand on the summit for what feels like hours, drinking in the view. The mountains stretch away in all directions, a frozen wilderness of water ice that has stood here for billions of years. You try to count them, but there are too many, hundreds, perhaps thousands, of peaks rising from the frozen plain. The closest peaks are the most distinct. You can see their shapes clearly, some sharp and pointed, others rounded and smooth, still others broken and jagged as if shattered by some ancient force. Each one is unique, an individual monument to the geology of this world. Beyond them, the peaks fade into the distance, becoming smaller and less distinct until they merge with the horizon. And beyond that, the plain stretches away, vast and empty, its polygonal patterns barely visible from this height. Above you, the stars fill the sky. The Milky Way is a river of light, so bright that you can see its structure. The spiral arms, the dark lanes, the dense core. You can pick out individual stars, thousands of them, each one a sun like your own, each one with its own planets, its own stories, its own mysteries. And there, among them, is the sun. A bright star, the brightest in the sky, but still just a point. You wonder if, from this distance, anyone on Earth could pick it out among the others. Probably not. It is just another star now, one of billions. You think about the light that is reaching you now. It left the sun 5.5 hours ago, traveled across billions of kilometers of empty space, and arrived here at this moment to touch your face. In that time, you have climbed a mountain, explored a talus field, discovered a perfect cube of ice. The light that illuminates your triumph is ancient, a messenger from the past. You look down at the summit beneath your feet. It is small, perhaps 20 meters across, covered in a thick layer of Tholen dust. In the center, a small cairn marks the highest point, not built by any hand but formed naturally by the wind and the ice. You walk to it and place your hand on its surface. The ice is cold, of course, but it is also solid, real here. You are here. You have climbed this mountain, stood on this summit, touch this place. And nothing can change that. You stay on the summit for a long time just looking. The cold seeps deeper into your suit, but you ignore it. The view is too beautiful, too vast, too overwhelming to leave. But eventually you must go. The descent will take hours and you need to rest. You take one last look at the view, committing it to memory, and then you begin the climb down. The descent is harder than the climb. The route that seems so clear on the way up is confusing on the way down, and you have to stop frequently to orient yourself. The ice is treacherous, and you move carefully, placing each foot with precision. You reach the ridge and begin the long traverse back. The drops on either side are just as terrifying as they were on the way up, but you focus on the path ahead, on the next step, on the next hold. The ramp comes into view and you descend it carefully, watching your footing. The loose ice is even more unstable on the way down, and you send small avalanches of fragments ahead of you. The crack appears and you chimney down it, pressing your back and feet against the ice. It is easier than climbing up, but still exhausting. You move steadily meter by meter until you reach the bottom. The ledge appears and you follow it to the steep slope. You descend carefully, testing each hold before committing your weight. The ice is slippery, treacherous, and you move with exaggerated care. The talus field appears below you, and you pick your way through it, climbing over boulders, stepping carefully on the unstable ice. The perfect cube is still there, a square of order in a landscape of chaos. You pause beside it, running your hand along its smooth surface, wondering again at its origin. Then you continue, leaving the cube behind, leaving the mountain behind, heading back across the plain toward the lander. The walk is long, but the low gravity makes it effortless. You cover kilometer after kilometer, the mountain slowly shrinking behind you. The plain stretches ahead, vast and empty, its patterns barely visible in the dim light. As you walk, you think about what you have seen. The mountains, the talus, the cube, the cracks and ridges and ledges, the view from the summit, the stars, the sun. It is more than you could have imagined, more than you could have hoped for. And yet there is more, so much more. The mountains beyond the ones you have climbed. The dark regions covered in tholins. The heart-shaped plain of Sputnik Planitia, with its convection cells and flowing ice. The moons, Charon, Styx, Nix, Kerberos, Hydra, each one a world in its own right. You will see them in time. But for now you are content with what you have seen. For now you are content to rest. The lander grows larger as you approach. Soon you are at its side, standing on the nitrogen ice, looking out one last time at the mountain. It is there, dark against the sky, a monument to your achievement. You enter the lander, cycle through the airlock, and remove your helmet. The familiar smell of recycled air fills your lungs. The warmth of the interior seeps into your bones. You sit down and look at the view screen. The mountain is there, the plain is there, the stars are there. The same scene, unchanging, eternal. But you have changed. You have climbed that mountain. You have stood on that summit. You have discovered a perfect cube of ice in a talus field. And nothing can take that away. You close your eyes, and you sleep. When you wake, you feel different. refreshed, renewed, ready for the next challenge. You eat, check your systems, prepare for another excursion. Today you will explore the dark regions, the places where tholins cover everything, where the ice is black with organic dust. You suit up and step outside. The cold greets you as always. You turn away from the mountain and walk toward the dark terrain, heading in a direction you have not yet explored. The ice changes as you walk. The bright white of the plain gives way to gray, then to black. The tholins are thicker here, covering everything in a layer of dark dust. Your boots leave clear prints in the dust, revealing the bright ice beneath. You walk for hours, covering kilometer after kilometer. The dark terrain stretches ahead, vast and empty, its surface covered in low hills and shallow valleys. The mountains are behind you now, their peaks just visible on the horizon. As you walk, you notice something strange. The dust is moving. Not visibly, the motion is too slow to see, but you can see its effects. There are patterns in the dust, ripples and dunes, shaped by the faint wind. The wind on Pluto is barely a whisper, but over millions of years, it has shaped the landscape. You kneel and examine the ripples. They are small, perhaps a few centimeters high, spaced regularly across the surface. They look exactly like the ripples you would see in sand on Earth, formed by wind. But here, the wind is almost non-existent, and the material is organic dust frozen onto the surface. You stand and continue walking. The hills grow larger as you approach, their slopes covered in the same black dust. They are made of water ice like the mountains, but the dust is so thick that the ice beneath is invisible. They appear as black mounds against the black sky, their shapes defined only by the faint starlight that catches their edges. You begin to climb one of the hills. The dust makes the slope treacherous, each step sinking into the soft material, providing little traction. You move carefully, testing each foothold before committing your weight. The low gravity helps, making it easier to recover from slips, but the dust is still a challenge. At the top of the hill, you stop and look out. The dark terrain stretches away in every direction, a vast expanse of black dust covering everything as far as the eye can see. The mountains are just visible on the horizon, their peaks catching the faint sunlight. The stars fill the sky above, their light steady and unchanging. And in the distance you see something that stops you cold. A glow. A faint, reddish glow on the horizon. It is impossible. There is no light on Pluto except the sun and the stars. There is no atmosphere to scatter light, no auroras, no lightning. There should be no glow. But there it is. Faint but unmistakable. A reddish light, like a distant fire on the horizon. You stand on the hill, staring at it, trying to understand. It could be a reflection from something, perhaps a patch of ice that is somehow reflecting the starlight differently. It could be an instrument error, a glitch in your suit systems. It could be your imagination, a trick of the light. But it is there, and you need to know what it is. You begin to walk toward it. The glow on the horizon pulls you forward like a beacon. You descend from the hill and begin walking toward it, your eyes fixed on that faint reddish light. It is impossible, you know. There is no source of light on Pluto except the distant sun and the stars. There are no fires, no volcanoes, no artificial lights. There should be no glow. But there it is. And you need to know what it is. The terrain changes as you walk. The low hills give way to a flat plain, covered in the same black dust that has become familiar. But here the dust is thicker, deeper, softer. Your boots sink into it with each step, leaving deep impressions that slowly fill in behind you as the dust settles. The glow grows brighter as you approach. It is still faint, barely visible, but unmistakable now. It has a color, a deep reddish orange like the embers of a dying fire. It illuminates the undersides of the dust particles, casting strange shadows across the landscape. You walk for hours, covering kilometer after kilometer. The glow grows steadily brighter, and you begin to make out details. It is coming from a specific point on the horizon, a low hill, perhaps, or a rise in the terrain. Whatever it is the source of the light. As you draw closer, you notice something else. The air is changing. It is thicker here somehow, though that is impossible. Pluto's atmosphere is barely there, a trace of nitrogen and methane that offers no resistance. But you feel something, a pressure, a presence, a weight. And there is a smell. Through your suit's filters you catch it, a faint, acrid odor like burnt sugar, like ozone, like something you cannot identify. It is the smell of chemistry, of reactions happening in the thin air. You stop and check your instruments. They show nothing unusual. The atmosphere is still nitrogen and methane, still at the same pressure, still at the same temperature. But your senses tell you otherwise. Something is different here. You continue walking. The glow is close now, just over the next rise. You climb the slope, your feet sinking into the soft dust, and reach the top. And you see it. A valley stretches before you, perhaps a kilometer wide and several kilometers long. Its floor is covered in the same black dust that covers everything, but here the dust is different. It glows. Faintly, softly, the dust emits a reddish light. It is not bright, you could read by it barely, but it is unmistakable. The entire valley floor is illuminated from within, as if the dust itself is alive with light. You stand on the ridge staring. This is impossible. There is no source of energy here, no heat, no radiation that could cause this. The temperature is still minus 230 degrees Celsius. Nothing should glow at this temperature. But it does. You descend into the valley, your feet sinking into the glowing dust. Each step sends up a small puff of illuminated particles that drift in the thin air, sparkling like fireflies. The light is soft, warm, nothing like the cold light of the stars. It is the light of something alive, something active, something happening. You kneel and scoop up a handful of the dust. It glows in your gloved hand, casting red light on your suit. You bring it close to your helmet, examining it through the visor. The particles are tiny, finer than anything you have seen. They are a deep reddish black, almost black in normal light, but here they glow with an inner fire. You can see structure in them, complex shapes, almost crystalline, that catch the light and reflect it in strange ways. You release the dust and watch it drift back to the ground. It falls slowly, taking minutes to return to the surface, glowing all the way. When it lands, it joins the rest, adding its faint light to the valley's glow. You stand and look around. The valley is vast, its floor covered in this glowing dust. The walls rise on either side, dark and steep, their surfaces also covered in dust that glows faintly. The sky above is black, filled with stars that seem dim compared to the light below. What is this place? What is this dust? You check your instruments again, running every test you can. The results come back slowly, and when they do, they are astonishing. The dust is tholin, the same organic compound you have seen everywhere on Pluto. But this tholin is different. It contains trace elements not found elsewhere, metals, rare earths, compounds that should not exist here. And it is emitting light, not heat, not radiation. Light. Pure, visible light coming from nowhere. You take sample after sample, running test after test. The results are consistent. The dust is glowing, and you have no explanation why. You spend hours in the valley, walking through the glowing dust, collecting samples, running tests. The light surrounds you, illuminates you, follows you. It is like walking through a dream, a fantasy, a world that should not exist. At the far end of the valley, you find something else. A hill rising from the valley floor, covered in the same glowing dust. But at its base there is a cave, a dark opening in the hill, its entrance ringed with light. You approach it carefully. The entrance is perhaps 3 meters high, 5 meters wide, a dark mouth in the glowing hillside. Inside you can see nothing, just darkness, absolute and complete. You step inside. Your helmet light cuts through the darkness, illuminating the walls. They are covered in the same glowing dust, but here the glow is fainter, overwhelmed by your light. You can see the structure of the cave, a tunnel leading deeper into the hill, its walls smooth, almost polished. You walk forward, your footsteps echoing in the confined space. The tunnel slopes downward, leading deeper into the hill. The air is still, silent, heavy with the smell of chemistry. After 100 meters, the tunnel opens into a chamber. It is large, perhaps 50 meters across, 20 meters high. The walls are covered in the glowing dust, but here the glow is brighter, almost enough to see by. Your helmet light is almost unnecessary. And in the center of the chamber there is a pool. It is small, perhaps 10 meters across, and its surface is perfectly still. It reflects the glowing walls, creating a mirror image of the chamber above. But it is not water. It is liquid methane, kept liquid by some unknown heat source, glowing with the same faint light as the dust. You approach the pool and kneel beside it. The surface is smooth, unbroken, a perfect mirror. You can see your own reflection looking back at you, a suited figure, anonymous, alien. You reach out and touch the surface. Your glove breaks it, sending ripples across the pool. The methane is cold, colder than anything you have felt, but it is liquid, flowing, real. You withdraw your hand and watch as the ripples spread and fade. The surface returns to stillness, to perfection. What is this place? How can liquid methane exist at these temperatures? What is causing the light? The questions pile up unanswered. You spend hours in the chamber exploring, sampling, testing. The pool is deep. Your instruments cannot find the bottom. The walls are smooth, polished by some unknown process. The air is thick with organic compounds, complex molecules that have no names. And the light, always the light. It surrounds you, illuminates you, warms you in a way that has nothing to do with temperature. It is the light of mystery, of discovery, of the unknown. Eventually you must leave. Your supplies are limited and you have spent too long here already. You take one last sample from the pool, one last reading from the walls, and then you begin the walk back. The tunnel seems longer on the way out, the darkness deeper. But eventually you emerge into the valley, into the glowing dust, into the light. You stand at the cave entrance looking out across the valley. The dust glows softly, casting its red light on everything. The walls rise on either side, dark and steep. The sky above is black, filled with stars. You have found something here. Something important. Something that changes everything you thought you knew about Pluto. But what it means you do not yet know. You begin the long walk back across the valley, through the glowing dust, toward the ridge. The light follows you, surrounds you, bids you farewell. At the ridge you stop and look back one last time. The valley glows below you, a bowl of light in the darkness. The cave entrance is just visible at the far end, a dark spot in the glowing hillside. It looks like an eye watching you leave. You turn and begin the walk back to the lander. The journey takes hours. The dark terrain stretches ahead, vast and empty. The mountains are just visible on the horizon, their peaks catching the faint sunlight. The stars fill the sky above, their light steady and unchanging. And behind you the valley glows, a secret place in a frozen world. You reach the lander as your suit's power is running low. You cycle through the airlock, remove your helmet, and sit down heavily. The view screen shows the familiar scene, the mountain, the plain, the stars. But you know now that there is more, so much more. You close your eyes, and you sleep. You reach out and touch one of the smaller crystals. It is cold, impossibly cold and fragile. It snaps off at your touch, falling to the floor and shattering into 1,000 pieces. They glitter there, reflecting the light, a small sacrifice to your presence. You feel a moment of regret. That crystal took millennia to form, and you destroyed it in an instant. But regret passes, replaced by wonder. There are thousands more, millions more. Your touch is nothing to them. You explore the crystal chamber for hours, marveling at its beauty. You take samples, measurements, photographs. You document everything, knowing that this place may never be seen again. At the far end of the chamber you find something else. A crack in the wall, narrow but passable. You squeeze through it. On the other side you find a third chamber. This one is different. No crystals, no pool, no glowing dust. Instead, the walls are covered in something else. A black, tarry substance that drips slowly down the walls. You approach it carefully. Your instruments tell you it is organic, complex hydrocarbons, the building blocks of life. It is thick, viscous, moving imperceptibly down the walls. It drips onto the floor, forming small puddles that slowly spread. You touch it. It is soft, yielding, nothing like the ice you have touched before. It sticks to your glove, leaving a black residue that you cannot wipe off. It smells even through your suit's filters, a rich, earthy smell like soil after rain. This is the source, you realize. This is where the tholins come from. They form in the atmosphere, drift down, accumulate on the surface. But here, somehow they are different. Here they are liquid, flowing, alive. You spend hours in the third chamber studying the tar, sampling it, measuring it. It is complex beyond anything you have seen. Molecules with hundreds of atoms, structures that have no names. It is the stuff of life waiting for a spark. But there is no spark here. No heat, no energy, no catalyst. The tar simply exists, flowing slowly down the walls, accumulating on the floor, waiting for something that will never come. You leave the third chamber and return to the second, then to the first. At the pool you stop one last time, looking into its depths. The shapes are still there, mysterious and unknown. You will never know what they are. Not today. You leave the cave and step out into the valley. The glowing dust surrounds you, soft and warm. You walk through it, back toward the ridge, back toward the lander. At the ridge you stop and look back. The valley glows below you, a bowl of light in the darkness. The cave entrance is just visible, a dark spot in the glowing hillside. It looks like an eye watching you leave. You turn and begin the long walk back. The journey takes hours. The dark terrain stretches ahead, vast and empty. The mountains are just visible on the horizon, their peaks catching the faint sunlight. The stars fill the sky above, their light steady and unchanging. And behind you the valley glows, a secret place in a frozen world. You reach the lander as your suit's power is running low. You cycle through the airlock, remove your helmet, and sit down heavily. The view screen shows the familiar scene, the mountain, the plain, the stars. But you know now that there is more. So much more. You look at the samples you collected. The glowing dust, the methane, the tar. They sit in their containers waiting to be analyzed. You will study them tomorrow. Tonight you need to rest. You close your eyes, and you sleep. You wake refreshed, eager to begin the analysis. The samples sit where you left them, waiting to reveal their secrets. You spend the morning in the lander's small lab, running test after test, watching the data accumulate. The results are astonishing. The glowing dust contains elements that should not exist on Pluto, trace amounts of metals, rare earths, compounds that require high temperatures to form. Somehow, these materials have been transported here, or formed here under conditions you cannot explain. The methane from the pool is pure, impossibly pure. No contaminants, no impurities, nothing but methane. And it contains traces of something else. Something that your instruments cannot identify, something that registers as an anomaly, a glitch, an error. The tar is the most complex. It contains thousands of different compounds, many of them identical to the building blocks of life on Earth. Amino acids, the precursors of proteins. Nucleobases, the components of DNA. Lipids, the stuff of cell membranes. All of them here in this frozen world. But none of it is alive. It is just chemistry, just molecules, just the raw materials. Life requires more than building blocks. It requires energy, organization, a spark. And there is no spark on Pluto. Or is there? You think about the glow. The light that comes from nowhere, that illuminates the valley that surrounds the cave. Could that be the spark? Could that be energy, somehow, manifesting in a way you do not understand? You have no answers, only questions. You finish your analysis and prepare to go out again. There is more to see in the valley, more to explore. The third chamber called to you with its flowing tar and its mysteries. You need to go back. You suit up and step outside. The cold greets you as always. You turn toward the dark terrain and begin walking. The lander recedes behind you, becoming a tiny speck against the endless white. Ahead the valley waits. The walk is long but familiar now. You pass the hills, the ridges, the places you have come to know. The mountains are behind you, their peaks just visible on the horizon. The dark terrain stretches ahead, vast and empty. At the ridge you stop and look down. The valley glows below you, soft and warm. The cave entrance is just visible, a dark spot in the glowing hillside. You descend into the valley. The dust puffs up around your feet as you walk, glowing particles drifting in the thin air. They sparkle like fireflies, like tiny stars, like magic. You walk through them, leaving a trail of disturbed light behind you. At the cave entrance you stop. The dark opening is just as you left it, ringed with glowing dust. You step inside. The tunnel is dark, but your helmet light illuminates it. You move quickly past the first chamber, past the second, to the third. The tar flows down the walls, black and thick, dripping onto the floor. You approach it carefully. The tar is moving, you realize. Not just dripping, but flowing, slowly, imperceptibly, but flowing. It collects in pools on the floor, then flows out of the pools, down small channels toward the wall. You follow one of the channels. It leads to a crack in the wall, a narrow opening that you did not notice before. The tar flows into it, disappearing into the darkness beyond. You hesitate. The crack is narrow, too narrow for your suited body. But you need to see what is on the other side. You remove your pack, your extra equipment, anything that adds bulk. Then you squeeze into the crack. It is tight. The walls press against you from both sides, cold even through your suit. You have to turn sideways, suck in your breath, push forward inch by inch. The tar is all around you, sticky and black, coating your suit. After what feels like hours, the crack opens into another chamber. You pull yourself through and stand, gasping. This chamber is different from the others. It is vast, the largest yet, perhaps 100 meters across. The walls are covered in the same black tar, but here it flows in rivers, in streams, in waterfalls. It pours from cracks in the ceiling, flows down the walls, collects in pools on the floor. The sound of it, a soft, liquid sound, fills the chamber. and in the center there is a light. A ball of light, perhaps a meter across, floating in the air. It glows with the same red light as the dust, but brighter, more intense. It pulses slowly like a heartbeat, like something alive. You approach it carefully. The light does not move, does not react to your presence. It simply floats there, pulsing, glowing. You reach out to touch it. Your hand passes through it. There is nothing there, no substance, no resistance. But when you withdraw your hand, it is covered in light. The glow clings to your glove, pulsing with the same rhythm as the ball. You stare at your hand, watching the light pulse. It is beautiful, mesmerizing, impossible. What is this place? What is this light? The questions pile up, unanswered. You spend hours in the chamber studying the light, the tar, the flows. You take samples, measurements, photographs. The light defies analysis. It has no mass, no temperature, no composition. It simply is. Eventually you must leave. Your suit's power is running low, and the journey back will take hours. You take one last look at the light, one last sample of the tar, and then you begin the long crawl back through the crack. The return journey is harder than the way in. The crack seems narrower, the tar thicker, the darkness deeper. But you push through inch by inch until finally you emerge into the third chamber. You rest for a moment, catching your breath. Then you move on through the second chamber, through the first, out of the cave. The valley glows around you, soft and warm. The dust sparkles at your feet. You walk through it, back toward the ridge, back toward the lander. At the ridge you stop and look back. The valley glows below you, a bowl of light in the darkness. The cave entrance is just visible, a dark spot in the glowing hillside. You wonder what else lies within, what other secrets it holds. You turn and begin the long walk back. The journey takes hours. The dark terrain stretches ahead, vast and empty. The mountains are just visible on the horizon, their peaks catching the faint sunlight. The stars fill the sky above, their light steady and unchanging. And behind you the valley glows, a secret place in a frozen world. You reach the lander as your suit's power is nearly exhausted. You cycle through the airlock, remove your helmet, and sit down heavily. The view screen shows the familiar scene, the mountain, the plain, the stars. But you know now that there is more, so much more. You look at the samples you collected, the glowing tar, the impossible light. They sit in their containers waiting to be analyzed. You will study them tomorrow. Tonight you need to rest. You close your eyes and you sleep. You wake with the image of that pulsing light still in your mind. It haunts you, that impossible glow in the darkness, that heartbeat of light in a frozen world. But today you must leave it behind. Today you will go to the heart of Pluto, Sputnik Planitia. The name means something different now than it did when you first arrived. Then it was just a feature on a map, a bright region on a distant world. Now it is a destination, a place you have dreamed of visiting, a frozen sea of nitrogen ice that covers an area the size of Texas. You prepare carefully for this journey. It will be your longest yet, days of travel, of exploration, of discovery. You pack extra supplies, check your systems, verify everything twice. Then you suit up and step outside. The cold greets you as always. You turn away from the mountains, away from the dark terrain, and walk toward the heart-shaped plain that dominates this hemisphere. The lander recedes behind you, becoming a tiny speck against the endless white. Ahead, the horizon stretches away, flat and empty. The walk is long, but the low gravity makes it effortless. You cover kilometer after kilometer, your thoughts drifting. You think about the valley, the light, the cave. You think about the mountains you climbed, the cubes you found, the mysteries you have uncovered. And you think about what lies ahead, the frozen sea, the flowing ice, the heart of Pluto. After hours of walking, the terrain begins to change. The rough, cratered ground gives way to something smoother, flatter. The ice beneath your feet becomes more uniform, less broken. You are approaching the edge of Sputnik Planitia. You stop at the boundary and look out. The plain stretches before you, vast and empty, its surface marked by giant polygons that stretch for kilometers in every direction. In the dim light, they appear as faint patterns on the ice, like the cracks in drying mud but on an enormous scale. Each polygon is a convection cell, a region where warmer ice rises from below, spreads outward, and sinks again at the edges. You step onto the plain. The ice here is different from anything you have walked on before. It is softer, more yielding, almost like packed snow. Your boots sink slightly with each step, leaving clear prints that will remain for millions of years. The surface is smooth, almost glassy, with only the faintest texture. You walk toward the center of the nearest polygon. The ice slopes gently upward as you approach the center, the surface rising perhaps 10 meters over several kilometers. It is a subtle slope, barely perceptible, but you can feel it in your legs. At the center you stop. The ice here is different, rougher, more textured, covered in small bumps and ridges. You kneel to examine it. It is softer here, more crumbly, filled with tiny bubbles that sparkle in your helmet light. This is ice that has risen from below, carrying with it gases and impurities that were trapped under pressure. You stand and look out. The polygon stretches away in all directions, its boundaries marked by shallow troughs where the ice sinks. Beyond it, more polygons stretch to the horizon, each one the same, each one slightly different. The pattern repeats endlessly, a vast honeycomb of ice. You begin to walk again, heading toward one of the troughs. The ice slopes gently downward as you approach the edge, the surface tilting almost imperceptibly toward the sinking zone. The trough itself is a shallow depression, perhaps 10 meters wide, running in a straight line across the plain as far as you can see. You step down into it. The ice here is different, darker, filled with impurities that have accumulated at the boundaries between cells. You can see layers in the ice, bands of light and dark that record the history of this place. Each layer is a year, a century, a million years, a page in the long story of Pluto. You kneel and touch one of the dark layers. It is soft, crumbly, rich in tholins, the same organic compounds you found in the valley. But here they are different, older, more compressed. They have been here for millions of years, slowly being buried by new ice. You stand and continue along the trough. It leads you to the next polygon and the next and the next. You walk for hours, crossing cell after cell, each one the same, each one slightly different. The pattern repeats endlessly. The gentle rise to the center, the slow fall to the edge, the dark line of the trough. At one point, you stop at the center of a particularly large polygon. The ice here is different, almost perfectly smooth with none of the roughness you saw elsewhere. You kneel to examine it, and you see something that stops you cold. Beneath the ice, deep beneath the surface, there is movement. You cannot see it directly, but you can feel it, a slow rhythmic pulsing like a heartbeat. It is the convection, the slow churn of ice rising from below. But it feels almost alive, almost conscious. You press your hand to the ice, trying to feel it more clearly. The pulsing is faint, barely perceptible, but it is there. The heart of Pluto beating in the darkness. You stay there for a long time, your hand on the ice, feeling the pulse. It is mesmerizing, hypnotic, beautiful. You could stay here forever, feeling the heartbeat of this frozen world. But you have more to see. You stand and continue walking. The plain stretches ahead, endless and vast. You walk for hours, days. Time loses meaning here. The sun never moves, the stars never shift, the landscape never changes. You are in a world without time, a world of eternal now. At last you reach a place where the ice changes. The polygons give way to something else. A region of chaos, where the ice is broken and jumbled, thrown up into ridges and blocks. It is like nothing you have seen before, a frozen storm of ice. You approach it carefully. The ice here is unstable, dangerous. Large blocks tilt at crazy angles, balanced precariously. Cracks open beneath your feet, revealing darkness below. You pick your way through the chaos, moving slowly, testing each step. At the center of the chaos, you find something unexpected. A pool of liquid. It is small, perhaps 10 meters across, and its surface is perfectly still. It reflects the dim light, creating a mirror image of the chaos around it. But it is not methane like the pool in the cave. It is nitrogen, liquid at this impossible temperature. You kneel beside it and touch the surface. Your glove breaks it, sending ripples across the pool. The nitrogen is cold, colder than anything you have felt, but it is liquid, flowing, real. It should not exist here. Nothing should be liquid at minus 230 degrees. But it is, and it is warm. Not warm in any human sense, but warmer than the ice around it. Something is heating it from below. You take a sample, then stand and look around. The chaos stretches away in all directions, a frozen storm of ice. The pool sits at its center, an eye of calm in the turmoil. And beneath it, something pulses, the same heartbeat you felt before, but stronger now, closer. You have found the heart of Pluto. The place where the nitrogen flows, where the ice churns, where the planet is alive in the only way a frozen world can be. You stay there for a long time, watching the pool, feeling the pulse. The stars wheel overhead, though you cannot see them move. The cold seeps through your suit, but you ignore it. You are here at the heart of Pluto, and nothing else matters. Eventually you must leave. The journey back will take days and your supplies are limited. You take one last look at the pool, one last sample of the liquid nitrogen, and then you begin the long walk back. The chaos is harder to navigate on the way out. The blocks seem more unstable, the cracks wider. But you pick your way through carefully, retracing your steps, until finally you emerge onto the plain. The polygons stretch ahead, vast and empty. You begin to walk, crossing cell after cell. The sun never moves, the stars never shift, the landscape never changes. You walk in a world without time. After what feels like days, you reach the edge of the plain. The rough, cratered ground appears ahead, a welcome change from the endless polygons. You step off the ice and onto the familiar terrain. The mountains are just visible on the horizon, their peaks catching the faint sunlight. The lander is somewhere beyond them, waiting for you. You begin the long walk home. The walk back across the cratered terrain is long and uneventful. Your mind drifts as you walk, replaying the images from the plain, the endless polygons, the chaotic ice, the liquid pool at its center. You have seen something that few will ever see, something that changes your understanding of this frozen world. The mountains grow larger as you approach. Soon you are at their base, walking along the familiar route toward the lander. The lander appears on the horizon, a tiny speck against the ice. You quicken your pace, eager to rest, to analyze your samples, to record your observations. You reach the lander as your suit's power is running low. You cycle through the airlock, remove your helmet, and sit down heavily. The view screen shows the familiar scene, the mountain, the plain, the stars. But you know now that beyond that plain there is more, so much more. You spend the next day analyzing your samples. The liquid nitrogen from the pool is pure, impossibly pure. It contains no impurities, no contaminants, nothing but nitrogen. And it contains traces of the same anomalous something you found in the methane pool, something your instruments cannot identify. The ice samples from the polygon centers are rich in tholins, complex organic compounds. They contain amino acids, nucleobases, lipids, all the building blocks of life. But they are not alive. They are just chemistry, just molecules, just the raw materials. You record your observations, your measurements, your thoughts. The data accumulates, a record of your journey into the heart of Pluto. After a day of rest, you prepare to go out again. There is more to see on the plain, more to explore. The pool called to you with its liquid nitrogen and its pulsing heartbeat. You need to go back. You suit up and step outside. The cold greets you as always. You turn toward the plain and begin walking. The lander recedes behind you, becoming a tiny speck against the endless white. Ahead the plain waits. The walk is long but familiar now. You pass the mountains, the cratered terrain, the edge of the plain. Soon you are walking on the polygons again, crossing cell after cell toward the chaos at the center. The chaos appears on the horizon after hours of walking. The jumbled ice, the tilted blocks, the open cracks. It is just as you left it. You approach it carefully, picking your way through the unstable terrain. At the center, the pool waits. Its surface is perfectly still, reflecting the dim light. You kneel beside it and look into its depths. The liquid nitrogen is clear, transparent. You can see into it, down into the darkness below. There are shapes there, structures, formations. They look almost like crystals, but different, softer, more organic. They pulse with the same rhythm you felt before, the heartbeat of Pluto. You reach into the pool. Your glove breaks the surface, sending ripples across it. The nitrogen is cold, colder than anything you have felt, but you push deeper, reaching down toward the shapes below. Your hand touches something. It is soft, yielding, nothing like the ice you have touched before. It pulses under your touch, alive with that same rhythm. You close your fingers around it and pull. It comes free easily, rising through the liquid nitrogen. You bring it to the surface and examine it. It is a sphere, perhaps 10 centimeters across, made of some material you do not recognize. It is translucent, glowing faintly with the same red light as the valley dust. It pulses in your hand, warm against the cold. You stare at it, this impossible object. It is not ice. It is not rock. It is not anything you have ever seen. It is smooth, perfect, spherical. And it is alive with light. You place it carefully in a sample container, sealing it for later analysis. Then you reach into the pool again, searching for more. Your hand finds another and another. They are scattered across the bottom of the pool, dozens of them, perhaps hundreds. Each one is the same, perfect spheres, glowing faintly, pulsing with that same rhythm. You collect as many as you can, filling your sample containers. Then you sit back, staring at the pool, trying to understand. What are these spheres? Where did they come from? What do they mean? You have no answers, only questions. You stay at the pool for hours, collecting samples, taking measurements, recording observations. The spheres defy analysis. They have no mass, no composition, no temperature. They simply are glowing and pulsing in their containers. Eventually you must leave. Your suit's power is running low, and the journey back will take hours. You take one last look at the pool, one last sample of the liquid nitrogen, and then you begin the long walk back. The chaos is harder to navigate on the way out. The blocks seem more unstable, the cracks wider. But you pick your way through carefully, retracing your steps, until finally you emerge onto the plain. The polygons stretch ahead, vast and empty. You begin to walk, crossing cell after cell. The sun never moves, the stars never shift, the landscape never changes. You walk in a world without time. After what feels like days, you reach the edge of the plain. The rough, cratered ground appears ahead, a welcome change from the endless polygons. You step off the ice and onto the familiar terrain. The mountains are just visible on the horizon, their peaks catching the faint sunlight. The lander is somewhere beyond them, waiting for you. You begin the long walk home. You reach the lander as your suit's power is nearly exhausted. The spheres are safe in their containers, glowing faintly even through the insulated walls. You cycle through the airlock, remove your helmet, and sit down heavily. The spheres sit on the lab table, pulsing gently. You stare at them, these impossible objects from the heart of Pluto. They are beautiful in a way you cannot describe, perfect spheres of translucent material, glowing with an inner light that seems almost alive. You begin the analysis. Takes hours, days. Time loses meaning as you work. The results are astonishing. The spheres are not made of any known material. They contain elements that should not exist together, compounds that cannot form under any natural conditions. They emit a faint radiation, too weak to be dangerous but too consistent to be ignored. And they pulse with a rhythm that matches exactly the heartbeat you felt beneath the ice. You run test after test, but the spheres defy explanation. They are a mystery, a puzzle, a gift from the heart of Pluto. After days of analysis, you are no closer to understanding them. You record your observations, your measurements, your questions. The data will be studied by others long after you are gone. Perhaps they will find answers where you could not. You prepare to go out one last time. There is one more place you need to see, the very center of Sputnik Planitia, the heart of the heart, where the convection begins and ends. You suit up and step outside. The cold greets you as always. You turn toward the plane and begin walking. The lander recedes behind you, becoming a tiny speck against the endless white. Ahead the plane waits. The walk is long, but you know the way now. Past the mountains, past the cratered terrain, past the edge of the plain. Onto the polygons, crossing cell after cell toward the center. The center of Sputnik Planitia is not marked on any map. There is no monument, no sign, no indication that you have arrived. But you know it when you reach it. The ice here is different. It is smoother, more perfect than anywhere else. The polygons are larger here, their boundaries farther apart. The surface is almost mirror-like, reflecting the dim light with an eerie perfection. You stop at what you judge to be the center. You kneel and place your hand on the ice, and you feel it. The heartbeat stronger than anywhere else. A deep, rhythmic pulsing that seems to come from the very core of Pluto. It is not fast, perhaps once per minute, perhaps slower. But it is steady, constant, eternal. You lie down on the ice, pressing your whole body against it. The pulse vibrates through you, through your suit, through your bones. It is like being held by the planet itself, cradled in its frozen embrace. The stars wheel overhead, though you cannot see them move. The sun hangs in the sky, a bright star among many. The ice beneath you pulses with the heartbeat of Pluto. You stay there for a long time just feeling. The cold seeps through your suit, but you ignore it. You are at the center of the heart, at the source of the pulse, and nothing else matters. Eventually you must leave. You stand reluctantly and take one last look around. The plane stretches away in all directions, vast and empty. The polygons fade into the distance. The stars fill the sky. You begin the long walk back. The journey takes days. You cross cell after cell, past the chaos, reach the edge of the plain. The mountains appear on the horizon, then grow larger. The lander appears, a tiny speck against the ice. You reach it as your supplies are running low. You cycle through the airlock, remove your helmet, and sit down. The spheres are still there, pulsing gently on the lab table. The view screen shows the familiar scene, the mountain, the plain, the stars. You have seen the heart of Pluto. You have felt its pulse. You have brought back its secrets. And now it is time to rest. You close your eyes. The pulse of the spheres matches the pulse in your memory, the heartbeat of a frozen world. You drift into sleep, cradled by that rhythm held by the ice. You have saved the best for last. After weeks of exploration, the mountains, the valleys, the glowing caves, the frozen sea, you finally turn your attention to the sky. Sharon has been there all along, hanging above you, watching. But you have been too focused on the ground to look up. Now, at the end of your journey, you will go to meet it. The journey to Sharon is not a physical one. Not yet. Your lander cannot reach it, cannot cross the 20,000 kilometers that separate the two worlds. But you can observe it, study it, learn its secrets from afar. And perhaps one day humans will follow. You stand outside the lander looking up at the sky. Sharon hangs there, a gray disk 8 times larger than Earth's moon appears from Earth. Its surface is dark, marked by a vast reddish region that early observers nicknamed Mordor. In the dim light, it appears almost black against the stars. You have studied Sharon from afar, through telescopes and spacecraft. You know its measurements, 1,200 kilometers in diameter, about half the size of Pluto. You know its composition, water ice mostly with traces of ammonia and tholins. You know its orbit, tidally locked, always showing the same face to Pluto, circling once every 6.5 Earth days. But knowing is not seeing. Seeing is not experiencing. You walk away from the lander, heading toward a nearby rise, a small hill of water ice that will give you a better view. The climb is easy in the low gravity, and soon you are standing on the summit looking up at Sharon. It fills a quarter of the sky, a massive presence that dominates the heavens. Its surface is visible in remarkable detail, craters, mountains, vast plains, all rendered in shades of gray and red. You can see the dark region clearly, a sprawling stain that covers one entire hemisphere. You can see the bright streaks that radiate from some craters, evidence of impacts that scattered fresh ice across the surface. And you can see that it is not a moon, not really. It is a companion, a partner, a twin. Pluto and Sharon orbit each other, their common center of mass lying outside Pluto itself. They are binary planets, the only such pair in the solar system, forever circling together through the darkness at the edge. You stand on the hill, watching Sharon, and you think about what it means to be part of such a system. Two worlds, bound together by gravity, locked in an eternal dance. They have been doing this for billions of years, will do it for billions more. Long after humans are gone, long after Earth is consumed by the sun, Pluto and Sharon will still be dancing. The smaller moons are visible too if you look carefully. Styx, Nix, Kerberos, Hydra. Tiny points of light moving slowly among the stars. They are irregular, chaotic, tumbling through their orbits like cosmic afterthoughts. But they are there, part of the system, part of the family. You watch them for a long time, these distant worlds. The stars wheel overhead, though you cannot see them move. The sun hangs in the sky, a bright star among many. Sharon stares down at you, its dark face unchanging. And then you see it, a shadow, moving across the face of Sharon, black against black. It is small at first, a tiny point, but it grows rapidly, spreading across the surface. It is an eclipse, Pluto's shadow falling on Sharon. You watch as the shadow spreads, covering more and more of Karen's face. The dark region disappears first, swallowed by the darkness. Then the bright streaks, the craters, the mountains. Soon half of Sharon is dark, then 3/4, then all of it. Sharon has disappeared. Not gone, but hidden, swallowed by the shadow of its companion. You stand in the darkness, looking up at where Sharon used to be. There is nothing there now, just stars, just the void. The eclipse will last for hours, perhaps days. When it ends, Sharon will emerge, reborn, fresh. You think about what this means. Two worlds so close that they eclipse each other regularly. Two worlds bound together so tightly that they share the same sky, the same light, the same darkness. Two worlds dancing forever in the void. The eclipse continues. You watch, waiting for Sharon to reappear. But it will be hours and you are cold, tired. You descend from the hill and walk back to the lander. Inside you warm yourself, eat, rest. The view screen shows the sky, empty of Sharon. You watch it for a while, then close your eyes and sleep. When you wake, Sharon has returned. It hangs in the sky just as before, as if nothing happened. But you know better. You saw it disappear. You saw it return. You suit up and go outside one last time. The cold greets you as always. You walk to the hill and climb it, standing on the summit, looking up at Sharon. It is there, solid and real, a world in its own right. You think about leaving. Your mission is almost over. Soon you will return to the lander, lift off, begin the long journey home. You will leave Pluto behind, leave its mountains and valleys and frozen seas. You will leave Sharon hanging in the sky, watching over an empty world. But you will not forget. You will carry this place with you always. The mountains of water ice, the glowing valleys, the frozen heart. The twin worlds, dancing forever in the darkness. You look up at Sharon one last time. She stares back, silent, eternal. Then you turn and walk down the hill, back to the lander, back to the journey home. You stand at the lander's airlock, one hand on the hatch, looking back one last time. The plane stretches away, vast and empty. The mountains rise in the distance, their peaks catching the faint sunlight. Sharon hangs in the sky, a gray disk watching over everything. You have spent weeks on this world. You have climbed its mountains, explored its valleys, walked across its frozen seas. You have discovered mysteries that will take years to unravel. The glowing dust, the liquid pools, the pulsing spheres. You have felt the heartbeat of Pluto, the slow pulse of its frozen heart. And now you must leave. You step inside, cycle the airlock, and remove your helmet. The lander feels smaller now, more cramped than it did before. Perhaps it is because you have grown used to the vastness outside, the endless plains and star-filled skies. Or perhaps it is because you know that soon you will be leaving this place forever. You begin the launch preparations. Systems check, fuel levels, trajectory calculations. The lander hums around you, coming to life after weeks of silence. The view screen shows the external cameras, the plane, the mountains, Sharon. You work methodically, checking each system twice. The launch will be critical. One mistake and you could be stranded here forever. But you are careful, thorough, professional. You have done this before many times. Hours later, you are ready. The lander stands on its landing pads, fully fueled, systems green. You strap into your seat, check your restraints one last time, and begin the countdown. 10, 9, 8. You look at the view screen one last time. The plane is there, the mountains, Sharon. You will never see them again. 7, 6, 5. You think about the spheres sitting in their containers. They pulse gently, their light visible even through the insulated walls. You are taking them with you, carrying their mystery back to Earth. 4, 3, 2. You think about the valley, the cave, the pulsing light. You think about the heart of Sputnik Planitia, the heartbeat beneath the ice. You think about Karen's shadow falling across its companion. 1. The engines fire. The lander lifts off, accelerating rapidly. The plane falls away beneath you, the mountains shrink, Sharon slides across the sky. You are leaving Pluto behind. The ascent is smooth, the low gravity making the climb easy. Soon you are in orbit, circling the tiny world one last time. Below you, the surface spreads out like a map. The mountains, the plains, the dark regions. You can see Sputnik Planitia, its heart shape clearly visible from above. You can see the valley where you found the glowing dust, a dark spot in the otherwise bright terrain. You take it all in, committing it to memory. Then you fire the engines again, setting course for home. The journey back will take years. You will sleep through most of it, suspended in animation while your vessel carries you across the solar system. But before you sleep, you have one last thing to do. You activate the external cameras, pointing them back at Pluto. The tiny world shrinks in the view, becoming a point of light, then a star among stars. Soon it is indistinguishable from the others. But you know which one it is. You will always know. You prepare the sleep chamber, checking the systems that will keep you alive for the years ahead. The spheres are secured nearby, their pulsing light a comfort in the darkness. You lie down, close your eyes, and let the drugs take you. As you drift into sleep, you think about Pluto, about its mountains and valleys, its frozen seas and glowing caves, about its twin Charon hanging in the sky, about the dance they share, the eternal waltz of two worlds bound together. You think about the mysteries you have uncovered, the questions you have raised, the spheres, the light, the heartbeat. You will carry them back to Earth, share them with the world. But some mysteries, will never be solved. Some secrets will remain with Pluto forever. The drugs take hold. Your consciousness fades. The last thing you see is the view screen showing the stars. Somewhere among them, Pluto is there, a tiny point of light. You sleep. Years pass. You sleep. The vessel carries you through the darkness, past the orbit of Neptune, past the gas giants, past the asteroid belt. The sun grows larger in the external cameras, though you do not see it. You sleep, suspended, dreaming of ice and light. The spheres pulse gently in their container, a steady rhythm that matches something deep within you. Even in sleep, you are connected to them, to the mystery they represent. Years pass. The vessel systems wake you gradually, bringing you back from the edge of consciousness. You open your eyes to the familiar sight of the cabin, the instruments, the view screen. The sun is bright now, a disk rather than a point. Earth is visible, a blue marble against the black. You are home. The landing is routine, anticlimactic after the years of travel. You touch down in a desert far from any city, where your cargo can be examined in safety. The hatches open and you step out onto Earth for the first time in years. The sun is warm on your face. The air is thick, heavy, full of smells you had forgotten. You stand there for a long time just feeling. Then you turn to the cargo bay where the spheres wait. They pulse gently, their light visible even in the bright sunlight. You carry them out one by one and place them on the desert sand. The scientists gather. They study the spheres for years, decades. They publish papers, hold conferences, debate their meaning. But the spheres never yield their secrets. They pulse on, indifferent to human curiosity. You return to Pluto in your dreams. You climb the mountains again, walk across the frozen seas, stand in the glowing valley. Charon hangs in the sky, watching, eternal. And in your dreams you understand. Not with your mind, but with something deeper. You understand that Pluto is not just a world. It is a presence, a consciousness, a heartbeat in the darkness. The spheres were its gift, its message, its way of reaching out. But what the message means you will never know. Some things are beyond understanding. Some mysteries are meant to remain mysteries. You live out your days on Earth, but your heart remains on Pluto. You watch the news as other missions are sent, other explorers visit. They find more mysteries, more questions. The glowing valley is still there, the cave still holds its secrets. The spheres are never found again, only you brought them back. You are old now, near the end. You lie in bed looking out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the gas giants, beyond the darkness, Pluto is turning. Charon is circling. The heartbeat continues. You close your eyes, and in your dreams you return. You are standing on the hill again, looking up at Charon. The shadow is falling, covering its face. Darkness spreads across the disk, swallowing it whole. Then the shadow passes and Charon emerges, reborn. You turn and look at the plain. The mountains rise in the distance, their peaks catching the faint sunlight. The nitrogen sea stretches away, vast and empty. The valley glows on the horizon, a bowl of light in the darkness. And you know that you are home. Not Earth. Earth was never really home. Home is here on this frozen world, under this star-filled sky, with Charon watching overhead. You walk down the hill, across the plain toward the valley. The dust glows beneath your feet, lighting your way. The cave entrance appears ahead, dark against the glowing hillside. You enter it, passing through the chambers, past the pool, past the crystals, to the place where the light lives. The ball of light pulses before you, its rhythm matching your heartbeat. You reach out and touch it. It is warm, alive, welcoming. And you understand. Not with words, not with thoughts, but with something deeper. You understand that you have always been here, always will be here. That Pluto is not a place you visited. It is a place you belong. You step into the light, and you are home. The light surrounds you, warm and welcoming. You feel yourself dissolving, merging with something vast and ancient. The boundaries that defined you, skin, self, consciousness, begin to blur, then fade. You are everywhere and nowhere. You are the ice beneath your feet, the mountains on the horizon, the stars in the sky. You are Charon, circling in eternal vigil. You are Pluto, turning slowly in the darkness. And you understand. The spheres were not objects. They were invitations. The light was not a phenomenon. It was a greeting. The heartbeat was not geology. It was a call. Pluto has been waiting. For billions of years, it has waited. For the first time in all those eons, something came. Something touched its surface, walked its plains, climbed its mountains. Something brought consciousness to this frozen world. And in return, Pluto gave a gift. Not knowledge, knowledge is for minds. Not power, power is for bodies. Something deeper. Connection. You feel it now, that connection. It stretches across space and time, binding you to this world forever. Even as your body lies on earth, old and fading, yourself remains here in the glowing valley, in the pulsing light. The light speaks to you not in words but in feelings. It tells you of the eons, the slow dance of worlds, the patient waiting. It tells you of the other visitors, comets and asteroids, dust and radiation, that have come and gone, leaving no trace. It tells you of the loneliness of being a world at the edge, of watching the universe from afar. And it tells you of gratitude, that you came, that you saw, that you touched. You stay in the light for what feels like eternity. Time has no meaning here. The stars wheel overhead, the seasons change, the eons pass. But you are beyond time now, beyond change. On earth your body breathes its last. They bury you in the desert, near where the spheres were found. The spheres themselves are in a museum now, pulsing gently in their display case, waiting. But you are not there. You are here in the glowing valley, in the pulsing light, in the heart of Pluto. Charon hangs in the sky watching. The shadow falls, covering everything. Darkness spreads across the land. Then the shadow passes and light returns. You are home.